What's up, Paddlers? It's your god, Lightwater here, coming at you with another video. And today, we're going to be discussing Fallout 76. As you can see, some footage here going in the background. So here's my thoughts. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it actually was. That being said, obviously the game has a lot of issues, if you've been following it at all. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of spit this off the top of my head. First impressions. So I think I'm level 29, maybe 30 in the game. So I've played a decent amount, which is good. And I think I like the amount of customization that is available to your character later on in the game. I basically built my character as a full melee kind of like tank, and I can basically take on any enemy without fear, which I actually kind of like. I don't do too much damage, but I usually roll around with my friends and they do all the damage, so I just kind of stand up the front, soak the damage, look cute. It's kind of like World of Warcraft in that way, you know? I'm basically playing as the tank, so I kind of like that. You know, we all have our role. We have a guy who does pickpocketing and, he like opens up locks and does all the computer stuff. So I think my final consensus is, if you have a group of friends who are willing to play like certain roles and you guys kind of make a team, then it's pretty cool, right? If you don't have that and you're on your own, it's a pretty shit game. It basically feels like a $60 mod for Fallout 4. Which sounds really bad, but if you're a diehard Fallout fan like me, that's not too terrible. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's not a full-fledged game. I didn't get kind of the Diablo Immortal feel though from this, because with Diablo Immortal, it truly felt like they took forever to make a game and then just turned out to be a mobile game. Whereas this, we know that they're making another game, so this is just something kind of like different. You know, you could say it's a cash grab in a way. It kind of is. And the whole no refunds thing. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of fucked up things, but I wanted to hate this game, and I actually just couldn't. That being said, I think there's a lot of issues wrong with it. So here's some of the top issues that I have. The scaling system is terrible. So what do I mean by that? So I can fight enemies 40 levels higher than myself, no problem. But sometimes when I fight enemies that are like level 5 when I'm level 30, they can actually just do more damage than high level enemies. So it's clear to me that everything scales. Like, things just don't do a flat damage and then, you know, you get enough DR on your armor and you just become a god. It seems like they almost do like a % damage, and then DR is almost kind of like AC in World of Warcraft, where, you know, depending on your level, that's how much armor that'll actually give. So it seems like there's scaling in this game, and I'm not too fond of it. Like, generally, something that is higher level is tougher to kill. As you see here, I'm killing a level 68 super mutant. Not having the worst trouble, but I'm in this. When I record this, I was level 20, rolling around killing level 68s. Probably shouldn't ever be possible. And I'm receiving loot for my level, which is also weird. So doesn't make too much sense. I'm just rolling around with all these high level people, just kind of following them, killing shit for fun. This is when someone dropped the nuke in the game. Okay, so that's a big gripe. I don't like how everything scales. That's a no-no. Enemies should be, a level 5 enemy should become so easy to kill when you're level 30. They shouldn't scale with you in any way, shape, or form. If it says level 5, it needs to be level 5, right? I wouldn't mind if everything levels up with me a little bit, so maybe that level 5 super mutant turned into a level 15 super mutant, because I'm 30 now. But it would still be pretty easy to kill him because he's a level, 15. So what seemed to happen was their damage got scaled up, but their health didn't, because I one-shot him. Right, which typically I wasn't able to do. But they were shooting me for like a fourth of my health, an eighth of my health, and I'm full tank. So it makes zero sense. So scaling's bad. What else is bad? Separate loot instances, I think, really destroys the community aspect of the game. What do I mean by that? Well, I can go up to an enemy that we just killed. I can loot some epic stuff off of him. Maybe he has a couple stem packs, really nice piece of armor, and a weapon. Okay, my friend goes up. Boom, he's got 4 different pieces of gear. Our next friend rolls up, loots the same guy. He gets 4 different pieces of gear. And so the cycle continues. It's like everyone gets their chance to loot something, and loot is essentially almost like client bound. It's not necessarily like a thing in the world, I think that's kind of bad. I like the idea of potentially somebody running up and stealing the loot off the thing that I worked really hard to kill. It makes it seem more real. I mean, wouldn't that make sense? I mean, the thing had the stuff on it. They should be able to come up and grab it and get it. Same thing with containers. You go to open a container. So one thing you have to be careful about is if someone opens a safe in your team, everyone has to go loot the safe, not just one person. So I don't know. I think they missed out on a really good opportunity for perk cards, because they could have had, someone with maybe this perception or the luck perk cards be all about looting, and you would have had like a looter, and that would have been interesting. You could have had someone who went full loot build. I mean, it would be weird, but you could do it. But no, they kind of just opted for the kind of communism route, and everyone gets loot. Everyone has equal chance, So, not a fan of that, because essentially that means that trading is not necessarily a big deal, even though we do trade quite a bit. But it should be kind of like, oh shit, this safe has 7.6 ammo. You should come get it. Or, oh hey, I found a stim pack in here. You want it? It's not like that. It's like, oh, I got a stim pack. Me. It's like personal loot, like in World of Warcraft. Like it seems like good. Oh, and see all these players. There's only supposed to be like 20 players in the server at one time, and yet there was like fucking 15 people on my screen at one time, and I was just like, hello? Oh, speaking of other players, PvP doesn't exist. It was a failed experiment, I think, on their part. Mostly because, and here's the reason why, scaling, right? So the scaling technology applies to players, like I mentioned earlier, and until a player has attacked you back, they get 90% damage reduction. What does that mean? Well, say you find some noob, he's wandering around, he's half your level, you attack him, he's going to take no damage, because it's 90% damage, then his damage reduction from armor, which is flat. So you're going to hit him with your big weapon and all your special skills and all the stuff you've earned from being a higher level player, someone who's invested time in this game, and you're going to hit a noob and it's going to do nothing. And let's say you smack on him forever and he doesn't return fire, and you finally manage to kill him. The only thing he drops are his junk items. Only the things in the junk tab. So we're talking like coffee mugs and shit. Okay? So, and junk is, in this game, a lot more valuable than any other Fallout game. That being said, it's junk, right? He's not going to drop anything cool. You're not going to get anything cool from killing him. You don't get any XP. It just feels hollow. But then what's worse is you then get a bounty on your head, which means everyone can attack you for full damage. The only way you can attack that player and then do full damage is if he attacks you back, right? So a common thing for people that have been playing the game that really know what they're doing is they'll get attacked, realize they're getting attacked, take all kinds of drugs, psycho, stim packs, med-X, all that stuff, then turn around and just obliterate the players that are attacking them in one fell swoop of VATS, right? And speaking of VATS, they kind of changed the new VAT system. I'm not as opposed or fan of it. I mean, obviously, the slowing down time mechanic couldn't necessarily be a thing in a multiplayer game. So I kind of feel like they had to do VATS how they did it. And it still feels okay. I think being able to teleport around as a melee character with VATS is pretty cool, but probably shouldn't be in the game. Like, see that right there? Perfect example, as I was mentioning it. I basically teleported the last 10 feet to him. And I do this the entire time I'm playing. Like, I can just teleport everywhere. I've been able to get up on top of roofs just because I use VATS and the enemy was looking down at me. It's a bit silly. I feel like I'm kind of just listing off everything bad with the game, so I'll kind of list some of the good things. Well, okay, a few more bad things. For most of the part, I think the game is basically an endless Ferris wheel. It's like you're constantly exploring to get supplies so you can fix your gear. And you're constantly having to fix your gear because you're constantly exploring. and there's no really underlining main storyline, and you just kind of do like cool side quests and explore. But again, as long as you're with friends, it's not the worst. So let's talk about the good things. The good things, I feel like the system where you can do your special perk cards and everything is pretty cool. At first I didn't like the perk cards. I thought they were going to be kind of stupid, but after a while I actually feel like there's a fair amount of customization. I've been able to make my character fairly tanky and do a decent amount of melee damage, and so I don't even own a single gun. I just play melee. I think that's really cool. I think where the perk cards kind of went wrong was you're not allowed to really choose what random perk cards you get. You just sort of every 5 levels, I think it's every 3 levels in the beginning, or maybe every level up to 10, and then every like 2 levels after that till 20, and then every 5 levels after that, you get a random 5 perk cards. So let's say you want to go melee character, you want to go stealth character. If you don't random enough, or at least some perk cards that could help you with that build, you're kind of limited and you can't really do that build. But that being said, I never found a lack of man, I'm having a tough time with this guy. Level 68 Super Mutant Warlord. Yeah, I never found it too tough to do the build I wanted to. There was never a lack of a perk card to put a point in. Every time you level up, you get to put a point into a perk card and a stat, right? I think it was a mistake having a start at 1 in all of our specials. I think a little bit more customization, a little bit of leeway, would have been better. I think even if we just had, let's say 5 points, or maybe 7 or 8 points, leaving the vault, that would have been really cool. You could have seen some characters that were pretty specialized, all their points in strength. Maybe give us 10 points, but don't let us go over 5 in any one of the specials right off the bat. So then at least we could maybe I max out strength and endurance, and so it's pretty clear I'm going to be a tanky melee guy, or maybe I put it all in endurance, or I don't know, some kind of leeway like that would have been better. Because I would say for the first 5 levels, maybe even 10 levels, one could argue, I felt the exact same as everyone else's character. I wasn't hardly any tankier. Didn't do too much more damage with melee. It took me about to level 15-20 where I started to feel like, okay, cool, I'm specialized, like I'm a tank. It took a while for that to really happen, and so I think that's a big mistake. I think that's something that Fallout 3 really understood was, by the time you leave the vault, you need to be fairly specialized. You need to have something that makes you like this character should be fairly different by the time it leaves the vault. And the vault process was all of like 1 minute long, and it's like it just pushes you out into the world, and it's like, go kill stuff. It's like, okay. So yeah, the storyline's basically non-existent. This is basically just a multiplayer game, hack and slash. Build your character up, make him as tanky or as much damage as possible. And the scaling sort of is the glue that holds the whole game together. And that's a good and bad thing. Essentially, they made it to where you can play with almost anybody of any level, but then it sort of like decentralizes the purpose of leveling in the first place. And also, if let's say you invest quite a few of your levels into utility because you've already achieved, maybe the extra melee damage or something, you can actually kind of notice your character getting weaker as far as combat's related. Obviously, if you put in utility, you're getting other things out of it. Maybe you can repair your armor better now, or you can do all this other stuff. But every point that I personally feel like every point I'm not constantly putting into getting tankier or doing more melee damage, I feel myself actually getting weaker, which isn't really how I should feel. So there's definitely a lot of issues, but again, if you're playing with friends, I'm personally having a blast. I think it's fun. Maybe it's the playstyle that I'm doing, but I constantly find myself, addicted to half the drugs in the game. My armor's constantly breaking and having to fix it. It's a struggle just to keep my weapons operational. I search everything. I'm having to use every stim pack, every water, every piece of food I have just to make it, and I'm constantly scrapping everything I find. So it feels kind of like this uphill battle constantly, which I enjoy. I don't know how much longer I'm going to enjoy it for, especially since the scaling has started to kind of kick in and low level things are randomly doing damage to me that I am not a fan of. But yeah, as long as my friends keep playing, I will keep playing. So I would say to anybody who's watching, if you have a couple friends and you guys have a game plan of who's going to do what, you know, who's going to do the lock picking, who's going to be like long range, is anybody going to go melee, you guys have a plan. Maybe you all go sneak and you guys sneak in, who knows, whatever your plan is. If you have a plan and you have dedicated friends who can always play during certain times, maybe certain days of the week, I'd play the game. It's generally fun. It's kind of like a Borderlands 7 Days to Die kind of feel. It is not a Fallout game. It's the Fallout world, the Fallout universe with some, you know, Fallout names and maybe the Fallout art, but it doesn't feel like a Fallout game in the slightest, to be completely honest. I think the better version of this game wouldn't have been as multiplayer. Like, you should be able, I think they should have just done a split screen kind of thing where you're allowed to play with one friend or maybe 2 or 3, but not PvP. I think PvP is a failed experiment, mostly because they realized their high level players would just kill the low level players and they couldn't have that, so they had to give that 90% damage reduction, and that was a no-go. So I realize I haven't really defended the game that well, and I don't really know what it is exactly I like playing about it. Maybe it's just because there's really no other game to play right now, and I'm not playing World of Warcraft, so I'm having kind of fun playing this thing. But yeah, I don't entirely hate it, and I'll probably be playing it for a couple more weeks, and then I'll probably be done with it. So I will probably have gotten my $60 out of it, and it's kind of like I just bought a DLC or a mod for Fallout 4 and got to play with my friends, and got to hit things with a melee weapon and be a tank. So that's my general thoughts. There's a whole bunch of stuff I could probably get into, you know, like all the glitches and things like that. Those have always been in Fallout games, and it's sad to kind of just accept that as a fact. But that is a fact. I mean, there's been a lot of funny glitches. There's been glitches that have worked in my favor, like me taking 0 radiation from a nuclear warhead that was dropped from another player, me being able to teleport on top of roofs just because of that. And there's been bad things, you know, like me getting stuck inside docks when I fast travel and weird stuff like that. So all in all, I feel like that kind of makes the Fallout experience. So if you're somebody who doesn't like the occasional bug, maybe that's a big deal for you, but I kind of enjoy it. It's funny. You know, I realize now that it's more of like a laziness on Bethesda's part rather than them, you know, being a small company, you know, small indie company, by the way, but it's still kind of funny. Like, it's Fallout, you know what I mean? So I still get the satisfaction from us doing quests. A lot of the quest rewards seem sort of homogenized though, streamlined, so it's not too interesting what you're gonna get. But I will say that the longer quest chains are still pretty fun to do, and they still feel pretty rewarding. But it's clear that there's obviously a lot of just, like, you know, side quests, repeatable content to kind of just keep giving you shit. So the key is you go out, you explore a new place, you spend a lot of time there with your friends, you check everywhere, you collect everything, and then probably just don't come back. So I would say when you've seen everything in the game and you've done all the quests for each area, and you've gotten to whatever level you have, I'd say quit the game and you had fun playing, because there's probably not anything after that point, and there's hardly any point to keep leveling up, because what'll happen is you'll actually just get weaker, as stupid as that sounds. So I look forward to getting higher level and eventually quitting, and then probably going to play vanilla World of Warcraft when it's out, or finding another game. But for the next few weeks and maybe a month or two, I'll probably be entertained with this game for now, and I'll be streaming it. And we've been having fun. So there it is, my honest review. Hopefully that helps you decide whether or not you want to buy it, or, you know, if you want to watch. I personally think it's pretty entertaining to watch me play this, because I just say screw it to guns, and regardless of every situation, even if there's a level 50 giant bat creature flying in the sky, I do not use range weapons, so it's pretty fun. Alright, this has been Lightwater, guys. Let's make healing great again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.